No one believed the old stories anymore. Not in Gray Hollow. The villagers had grown used to silence, peaceful silence. No wars, no monsters, no dragons. Just the slow rhythm of life. Harvest, sleep, repeat. Children laughed in the streets, and elders told tales no one listened to. Until the first night. It was Tomas, the baker's son. He didn't scream. That was what made it worse. His mother woke to an open window, curtains whispering in the cold wind. Flour dust still clung to the boy's hands, his half-eaten bread resting on the table. No blood, no struggle, just gone. At first they blamed wolves, then bandits, then something darker, because on the second night it happened again. Mira remembered that night clearly. She had been awake, sitting by her window, staring out at the forest that hugged the village like a shadow that never left. She couldn't sleep, not after Tomas vanished. The air felt wrong, heavy, like the world was holding its breath. Then she heard it, a sound too deep to be wind, a low rumble, not outside, above. Mira looked up, and for a moment, just a moment, she thought she saw something move across the stars, something vast, something alive. Then, a scream. This time, there was a scream. It came from old Henrik's house. By the time the villagers arrived, the door was still locked from the inside, the windows untouched. But Henrik was gone. Only one thing remained, a single, massive scorch mark across the ceiling. That's when the word was whispered. Dragon. No. The village elder said the next morning, voice shaking despite his denial. Dragons are gone. Dead. Legends. Then what took them? Mira asked. No one answered, because they all knew. That night, no one slept. Families gathered together. Doors were barred, windows nailed shut. Fires burned bright to keep the darkness away. Mira stayed with her younger brother, Leo. Will it come here? He whispered. She forced a smile. No, it's just stories. But her hands trembled, because deep down, she knew it wasn't. Midnight came, and with it, silence. Not normal silence. Dead silence. No wind, no insects, no breath of life. Then, a shadow passed over the village, not on the ground, but across the sky, blocking the stars. The rumble returned, closer this time, heavier, like thunder that refused to break. Mira grabbed Leo's hand. Stay close, she whispered. The door rattled. Once, twice. Then, it stopped. They waited. Seconds stretched into eternity. Then they heard it. Not outside, not inside, but everywhere. A slow, deliberate sound, like something massive moving, choosing. A scream shattered the silence. From across the village. Then another. Then nothing. Morning came like a curse. Another house. Another empty room. Another missing soul. No blood. No fight. Just gone. The elder gathered everyone in the square, his face pale. It takes one, he said. Each night. A murmur spread through the crowd. Fear. Raw and suffocating. We leave. Someone shouted. We run. No, the elder said, his voice breaking. If it wanted us all, we'd already be dead. The truth settled like a grave. It wasn't hunting randomly. It was choosing. Mira looked toward the forest, toward the sky, toward the thing she had seen. And for the first time, she understood. This wasn't an attack. This was a ritual. That night, she didn't sleep. Because she knew. It would come again. And when it did, someone else would be gone. And the village would grow quieter. One by one. By the seventh day, Gray Hollow had learned a new ritual. They counted. Not prayers. Not blessings. Not days. People. At dawn, the survivors stepped out of their homes, like ghosts unsure of their own existence. No one spoke unless they had to. No one met each other's eyes for long. It was easier that way. Elder Varric stood by the old well, gripping the wood as if it were the only solid thing left in the world. How many, he asked. Someone answered. 32. The next morning, 31. Then, 30. The number fell like something heavy dropped into darkness. Each time it hit, it echoed longer. Mira stood at the edge of the square with Leo beside her, his hand wrapped tightly around hers. Will it stop? He whispered. She didn't answer. because the truth had already settled inside her. It wasn't going to stop. The newest name was carved into the wooden board. Joran. The letters were uneven, cut too deep in places, as if whoever carved them had pressed harder with each stroke, just to keep their hands from shaking. Mira stared at the name. Joran had been alive yesterday, laughing, talking, trying to be brave. Now he was a mark on wood. It's a dragon, someone said behind her. No, another voice argued. Dragons burn everything. There would be ash. There would be bodies. Then what is it? Silence answered. Mira turned away. She didn't want to hear their fear. She wanted to understand it. Come on, she said to Leo. Where? To see. They went to Joran's house first. The door creaked open with a hollow sound that echoed too loudly in the still air. Inside, everything looked untouched. His boots sat by the door. A half-drunk cup rested on the table. Normal. Wrong. Don't look up, Leo muttered. Mira ignored him. She stepped forward and looked. The mark stretched across the ceiling. Dark, curved, unnatural, not burned like fire, burned like something that didn't belong to fire at all. Mira climbed onto a chair, her fingers brushing the blackened wood. It was smooth, too smooth. No splintering, no ash, no cracking. This isn't fire, she whispered. Leo's voice shook. Then what is it? Mira didn't answer, because she didn't know. They went to another house, and another, and another. Every single one had the same mark, same shape, same curve, same direction. Mira stood in the center of the third house, her heart beginning to race. Do you see it? She asked. Leo hesitated, then slowly nodded. They all point the same way. Yes. Mira turned slowly, looking toward the door. They point here. A cold realization crept into her mind. It's not coming from above. Leo blinked. But the roof. It's not entering, she said. The words felt wrong even as she said them. If it came from a sky, the roof would be broken, burned, destroyed. But it's not. The room fell silent. Then how is it taking them? Leo whispered. Myra's throat tightened. I don't know. But she could feel the answer coming. Slow. Terrible. That evening, the village gathered again. Fewer voices. Fewer faces. More fear. We leave tonight, Bram said, his voice desperate. We go into the forest. Anywhere but here. And if it follows, someone asked. It only takes one. Bram shouted. Better one in the wild than all of us waiting to die. It's not random, Mira said suddenly. The crowd turned. Her voice felt too loud, too sharp. It chooses, she continued. How do you know that? Bram snapped. Because it doesn't break anything, Mira said. No doors. No windows. No signs of struggle. Maybe they don't fight. Mira shook her head. No. Something else is happening. Elder Varric stepped forward slowly. Speak. Mira hesitated. Then, it's watching us. The word spread through the crowd like fire. Watching. How? From where? Mira looked up. No one else did. From above, she said. That night, no one slept. Doors were locked. Windows barred. Candles burned in every home. Mira sat in the center of the room with Leo beside her. The silence pressed in around them. Then, the rumble began. Not loud. Not sudden. Deep. Slow. Like something ancient remembering how to move. Leo grabbed her arm. It's here. Mira nodded. The candles flickered. The shadow passed over the house. And for a moment, everything went dark. Mira looked up and saw it. Not clearly. Not fully. But enough. A shape. Too large. Too wrong. Moving across the sky. Then, a scream. From somewhere in the village. Sharp. Short. Cut off too quickly. Leo buried his face against her shoulder. Make it stop. Mira couldn't move. Because she felt it. That presence again. Not just above. Closer. Watching. Choosing. The rumble faded. The shadow moved on. And silence returned. Morning came. Another door open. Another room empty. Another name carved. 29. The number echoed. Mira stared at the board. At the names. At the growing emptiness. And then, a thought struck her. Cold. Sharp. Unavoidable. It's counting, she whispered. Leo looked at her. What? Mira didn't take her eyes off the board. It takes one every night. Everyone knows that. No, she said. Her voice dropped. It takes exactly one. Silence fell. Leo's face went pale. Why does that matter? Mira finally looked at him. Because now, she understood something worse than fear. Because it's not feeding. The wind died. The world stilled. And the truth settled over Gray Hollow like a curse. It's choosing. Gray Hollow did not die all at once. It faded, like a voice losing strength, until only silence remained. By the 15th night, no one remembered what normal felt like. Not laughter, not warmth, not safety. Only waiting. The village no longer gathered. There were no meetings, no arguments, no hope left to debate. Each survivor stayed inside their own home, as if pretending the others were already gone would make it easier when they truly were. Because everyone knew. It was only a matter of time. Mira stopped counting days, but she counted nights, because nights were when the world ended. One piece at a time. There were 12 left. Then 11. Then 10. Each number felt heavier than the last. Not because it changed anything, but because it didn't. Mira sat in the center of the room with Leo curled beside her. They no longer slept in beds. Beds felt like traps now. Too close to ceilings, too exposed to whatever reached down from above. Instead, they stayed low, close to the ground, as if that could save them. Do you think it knows us? Leo asked. His voice had changed. Not deeper, just emptier. Mira didn't answer right away. She stared at the ceiling, waiting, watching. Yes, she finally said. Leo swallowed. How? Mira thought of the marks. The same shape, the same direction, the same impossible burn. Every single one pointing inward, toward the center of each home, toward the people inside. It sees without looking, she whispered. That was when the rumble began. It didn't come suddenly anymore. It crept in, slow, patient, like something that had learned there was no need to rush. Leo grabbed her arm. It's early. No, Mira said softly. It's right on time. The candles flickered violently, their flames stretching thin like they were trying to escape. The air grew heavier, hotter, harder to breathe. Then the shadow passed. Not across the sky, across the house. Mira felt it, not with her eyes, but inside her bones. A pressure, like something enormous, had leaned close to their reality, and was listening. Don't move, she whispered. They froze. The rumble didn't pass. It stopped, right above them. For the first time since this began, the dragon lingered. Seconds stretched. Then minutes. Nothing happened. And that was worse. Because suddenly, Mira understood something new. It wasn't just choosing. It was waiting. A sound broke the silence. Not from above. From the door. A slow, deliberate scratch. Leo's breath caught in his throat. It's here. Myra's heart pounded so hard it hurt. The door stood still. Closed. Unbroken. The scratch came again. Not claws. Not force. Something softer. Like testing. Then, a breath. Hot. Ancient. Right against the wood. Mira felt her entire body go cold. Because she realized something horrifying. It wasn't trying to get in. It was checking. Leo pressed his face into her shoulder. Make it stop. Mira didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't even breathe. The presence on the other side of the door shifted. Slowly. As if something massive had turned its head. Listening. To them. Then. Silence. The breath vanished. The pressure lifted. The rumble returned to the sky. And just like that, it was gone. Leo collapsed against her, shaking violently. It almost took us. Mira stared at the door. No, she whispered. Her voice felt hollow. It didn't. Morning came. And for the first time, no one was missing. Mira stepped outside slowly. The village looked wrong. Not empty. Not destroyed. Just still. Too still. She walked through the streets. Past houses with doors left open. Past homes with candles burned down to nothing. Then she found them. All of them. Every remaining villager. Not taken. Left behind. Standing. Sitting. Collapsed where they had waited through the night. Eyes open. Breathing. Alive. But empty. They're not. Leo's voice trembled. They're not moving. Mira knelt beside one of them, a man she barely recognized anymore. She waved her hand in front of his face. Nothing. No reaction. No awareness. Only breathing. They're here, she whispered. But they're gone. Leo backed away slowly. No, no, no. Mira stood, heart racing, mind breaking apart. It didn't take them, she said. It left them. The realization hit like a blade. It had been taking one each night, not to kill, but to choose. And now, it had rejected the rest. Mira turned slowly. There were only two people left who were still themselves. Her and Leo. The wind didn't blow. The sky didn't move. Everything felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for night, for the end. Mira looked at the door of their cottage in the distance. Closed, untouched, unmarked, and for the first time, she was sure of it. That door was the only thing left that mattered, because when night came again, the dragon wouldn't take one. It would choose the last, and this time, it wouldn't leave. Gray Hollow did not breathe that day. The wind did not move. The trees did not whisper. Even the sky seemed frozen, pale and distant, like something that no longer belonged to the world below. Mira stood in the center of the village, surrounded by bodies that were not dead, not alive, not there. The survivors, what remained of them, stood where they had been left, eyes open, faces empty, breathing but unmoving, like puppets cut from their strings, waiting for hands that would never return. They're still here, Leo whispered behind her. Mira didn't turn. Yes. Can we wake them? The question broke something inside her. She already knew the answer, but she stepped forward anyway. She reached for Alma first, the mother who had screamed for her son, the woman who had clawed at the sky. Alma, Mira said softly. No response. She shook her gently. Nothing. Alma, louder now. Still nothing. Only breathing. Mira stepped back slowly. Her chest tightened. They're gone, she whispered. Leo's voice trembled. But they're right here. Mira shook her head. No, not them. Something had taken everything inside them that mattered, everything that made them choose. And suddenly, the truth became clear. The dragon had not been killing. It had been separating those who were taken and those who were left behind. Mira turned sharply toward their cottage at the edge of the village, toward the one door that still stood closed. Come on, she said. Leo hesitated, glancing nervously at the motionless villagers. I don't want to stay here. Then don't. They ran, past silent houses, past empty streets, past a village that no longer existed, until they reached the cottage. The door stood exactly as they had left it, closed, unmarked, untouched. Mira stared at it, her heart pounding. This is wrong, she whispered. Leo swallowed. Everything is wrong. No, she said, shaking her head slowly. Not like this. Every house in the village had been opened. Every door, every lock, every barrier, except this one, their door. Leo stepped back slightly. Maybe it couldn't get in. Mira looked at him, then at the door. No, she said. Her voice was quieter now, stronger. It didn't try. The weight of that realization pressed down on her chest. It had come. It had stood here. It had breathed against this door. And it had left. Not because it couldn't enter, but because it chose not to. Why? Leo whispered. Mira stepped closer. Her hand hovered inches from the wood. The surface looked normal. Old. Worn. Familiar. But now, it felt like something else. A boundary. A line that had not been crossed. Because we didn't open it, she said slowly. Leo frowned. What? Mira turned to him. Every house, every person, they were waiting. Afraid. Listening. But they opened something. I didn't open anything, Leo said quickly. Neither did I, Mira replied. They stared at each other. And for the first time, they understood. It hadn't broken doors. It hadn't forced its way inside. It had been invited. Not by hands, but by fear. By surrender. By something unseen giving in. Mira stepped back from the door. Her breathing quickened. It wasn't taking them, she said. It was answering. Leo's voice cracked. Answering what? Mira looked at the silent village behind them, at the empty shells of people, at the sky that no longer felt like theirs. The moment they gave up, the words hung in the air like a sentence passed. Leo shook his head violently. No, that doesn't make sense. Think, Mira said sharply. Every night, someone vanished. No struggle, no fight, no broken doors. They were scared. Yes, she snapped, and then they stopped fighting. Silence fell between them. Leo's hands trembled. Then why didn't it take us? Mira looked at the door again. Because we didn't stop. The wind stirred for the first time in days. A low, distant rumble rolled across the sky. Both of them froze. It's early, Leo whispered. No, Mira said. It's not. The light began to fade. Too fast. The sky darkened like ink spreading through water. The world held its breath. It's coming, Leo said. Mira nodded. This time, there would be no waiting. No choosing. Only an answer. The rumble grew louder. Closer. Heavier. The shadow fell across the ground. Not from above. From in front of them. The forest. Something moved between the trees. Not flying. Walking. Each step slow. Deliberate. The ground trembled. Leo stumbled back. Mira. I see it. The trees parted. And for the first time, the dragon revealed itself. It was larger than anything she had imagined. Not just in size, but in presence. Its body seemed to bend the world around it. Its scales drank the light. Its eyes burned like something ancient. Something that had seen too much. It stopped at the edge of the village, looking at them. Not hunting. Not raging. Waiting. Mira felt it again. That presence. That pressure. That impossible awareness. You're the last, it said. The voice wasn't sound. It was inside her. Leo fell to his knees, clutching his head. Mira stood still, forcing herself not to look away. Why, she whispered. The dragon's gaze didn't change. Because you did not open the door. The truth hit her like fire. This had never been about strength, or survival, or luck. It had been a test. And now, only one thing remained. The dragon lowered its head slightly. The ground trembled beneath it. Open it, it said. Mira turned slowly. The door stood behind her, closed, waiting. The last barrier, between them, and whatever came next. Leo's voice broke behind her. Mira, don't. Her hand trembled. The rumble of the dragon filled the air. The world stood still. And for the first time, Mira understood the true horror. It had never forced anything. It only waited. For you. To choose. The door stood before her. And the night had just begun. The world had narrowed to a single choice. The door. Mira stood before it, her hand hovering inches from the worn wood. Behind her, the dragon waited, silent, unmoving, vast enough to make the air feel too small to breathe. Leo's voice trembled from somewhere far away. Don't open it. But it wasn't fear in his voice anymore. It was something deeper. Something that sounded like the last thread holding him together. Mira didn't turn around, because if she did, she might not have the strength to choose. The village behind her stood frozen in its hollow stillness. The empty people, the open doors, the lives that had been left behind. They're not dead, she whispered. The dragon did not respond. They're still breathing. Silence. Mira clenched her fist. Then give them back. The dragon's eyes burned brighter. They opened, it said. The words weren't cruel, not angry, just certain. Myra's throat tightened. They were afraid. They yielded. The answer struck harder than any roar. Mira swallowed. So that's it. That's all it takes. The dragon did not move. They chose. Mira shook her head. No, you're twisting it. You came here. You watched them. You broke them. I waited. The ground trembled slightly beneath its voice. I do not break what is not already bending. Myra's breath hitched. The truth in those words felt like a blade sliding under her skin. She thought of the nights, the fear, the waiting, the moment when each person stopped hoping, stopped resisting, stopped believing morning would come. And in that moment, something inside them had opened. Not a door of wood, a door of will. Mira looked back at the villagers, at their empty eyes, their hollow stillness. They're not alive, she said. They remain. The distinction made her stomach twist. Why? She demanded. Why do this? For the first time, the dragon moved. It stepped forward. The ground shook. The air warped. And Mira felt it, truly felt it. Not as a beast, not as a monster, but as something older. Something that didn't belong to the same world as her. I do not take, it said. I reveal. Myra's hand trembled near the door. Reveal what? The dragon's gaze locked onto her. Those who open. Her breath caught. And those who don't. Silence fell again. Heavy. Final. Mira closed her eyes. She thought of Tomas. Of Joran. Of Alma screaming into the sky. Of every night spent waiting for something that couldn't be stopped. And she understood. Not everyone had been taken. Some had simply given in. Her fingers brushed the door. Rough wood. Familiar. Real. This is your test, she said. Yes. And if I open it? You join them. Her heart skipped. And if I don't? The dragon's voice lowered. Then you remain. Myra's eyes opened slowly. Alone. The dragon did not answer. That was answer enough. Behind her, Leo sobbed quietly. I don't want to be alone. Mira turned. For the first time since this began. He looked so small. So afraid. So human. And suddenly, the choice wasn't about her anymore. It was about him. She stepped away from the door. The dragon did not stop her. Leo, she said softly. He shook his head violently. Don't make me choose. I'm not. She knelt in front of him, placed her hands on his shoulders. You don't open the door, she said. His breathing hitched. No matter what you feel, no matter what you hear, no matter what you think is waiting for you on the other side. Tears streamed down his face. I'm scared. I know. She pulled him into a tight embrace. So am I. For a moment, the world softened. Then she stood and turned back to the door. Mira, Leo whispered. She didn't answer, because she already had. Her hand reached forward, and this time, she opened the door. Darkness poured in. Not shadow, not night. Something deeper, something endless. It swallowed her in an instant. Leo screamed. Mira, but she was already gone. The door slammed shut. Silence returned. The dragon turned its gaze toward Leo. The last one. The only one left. He trembled, fell to his knees, clutched his head. The fear surged. The pressure built. The voice crept into his mind. Open it, he gasped. The door stood before him, closed, waiting. The same choice, the same test. Leo's hand trembled, slowly rising. Tears blurred his vision. I don't want to be alone. The voice whispered again. Open it. His fingers hovered near the handle. The fear grew louder, stronger. But beneath it, something else remained. A memory. Myra's voice. You don't open the door. His hand shook violently. Then, he pulled it back. No. The word broke the silence like thunder. The pressure vanished. The voice disappeared. The world stilled. The dragon lowered its head. For the first time, it bowed. Then you remain. The sky began to change. Light returned. The weight lifted. And slowly, the empty villagers collapsed to the ground. Breathing. Alive. The door stood closed. Unopened. Unbroken. Leo fell forward, sobbing. The dragon turned away, its massive form dissolving into shadow, returning to wherever it had come from. And as it vanished, its final words echoed in the silence. Not all doors should be opened. The village would live, but it would never forget, because every night, in the quietest moments, they would remember the door, and the one who opened it, and the one who didn't.